The big data is our regular data that we deal with every day, but it differentiates from all of the data with three characteristics. It's named as the 3 V's of big data. What is the 3 V's of big data? Mainly, the first one is the volume of the data, the amount of the data you have. And the second one is the velocity, the speed of the data you receive, the system, the system you receive the data from, the speed you receive it, and the variety of the data that you have dealing with all the types of the data. That is 3 types of the data: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. The mainly dealing with the big data is the unstructured data that is not stored in database, and the regular platforms like Excel and this stuff can deal with it. Okay, after giving you a short introduction about the big data, how this big data works. It works in 3 simple steps: integration, collecting the data from different platforms, and manage this data. After collecting the data, sure, you need to store it. You can store it in the cloud or in local drive. Even what you choose according to your security preferences. And after that, to the main and the most important part of the big data is the big data analytics. Is the third step to deal with the big data. It's the big data analytics. In my personal view, big data analytics is an art. You can have the same data, the same tools, but you have the different results from one to other. I think this is good for the introduction about the big data. And after that, we will go to the main question that we'll answer today. What is the big data impact on the fraud management? I will talk about my personal perspective in the banking sector. I'm working in a bank, so my perspective from the banking side. The banking side, the big data analytics help the banks to detect and eliminate any kinds of internal or external fraud. For instance, the analytics algorithms can alert the bank that any debit or credit cards have an unusual behavior. Let me give you an example. If I'm a bank and one of my audience now is my customer, he have the debit card or credit card from a bank. If all his transactions is in a small geographical locations, and suddenly there is a transaction that is out of this geographical location, most probably this transaction is fraud. Most probably more than 50% this transaction is fraud. The AI and the big data can help us to detect this fraud. If even it's fraud, it can help us in the live monitoring about the cards transactions and stuff like this. And you know, after the digitalization now, the online banking and this stuff enabled the banks to collect more data about the customers. Collecting data, that means that I can prevent fraud more and more and more. All the transfers now is through the online banking, through your desktop and mobile. You know, this is the more the transaction is monitored, the more the fraud is prevented. This is my personal opinion about the impact of the big data, how the big data, we need to use it more and more and more as it can help us more and more and more in preventing fraud. In Egypt, data-driven decision making and big data is newly added to the banking sector from, I think, 3 years. Data-driven decision making. All the banks now has imported system from all the vendors, have the support from Oracle, Microsoft, and making systems to have the data-driven decision making from the fraud and risk perspectives. I think that's it. That's it for my explanation.